Hey guys, how's it going?
I'm great. How are you?
Great. I'm in quarantine in the attic of my parents' house. So
You look like you're in the rafters, Wade.
yeah. Apologize for the background. It's not my normal, but hey,
That's okay. We are picky. We're like so excited that you're here. Amazing. Everyone's just hopping on. I'm going to ask everybody if you can just hide your video. So it's just showing up as Wade and I, if that's okay. I love you all, but we're just going to keep it a little less cluttered. If that
sounds good.
Does that sound good? Okay, awesome. Okay, so I think you were going to continue joining, and I will. If I interrupt and ask this question, Wade, I apologize.
Okay.
Yeah, this is really awesome. I mean, I literally talked to you like a week ago, and I said, "Hey, Wade, super excited to chat with you. Can you fit me in your schedule?" And you said, "Well, yeah, usually 3 months out, but somehow the universe aligned us, so I'm super excited about that."
Yeah, I just kicked some people aside so that you guys could get you guys in for the holidays and stuff like that. So
people, but I appreciate that. That's
no
amazing.
problem.
Awesome. So this is amazing, and I want to keep this really like tight and focused on what we want to talk about. So thanks everyone for doing this for me. So I'm gonna really just ask you to first start off. You've got a really amazing story.
Sure.
I come from the fitness world myself. I've been a coach for 18 plus years. Joined a gym when I was 18, and I'm 51, and I haven't stopped. So
awesome.
That's my lifestyle, and I think it is a lifestyle, right? And you have a really cool story how you even got into that space. And I'd love for you to, first of all, just share with us your background and how this kind of just came to light in terms of you and all the amazing things that you've done. Just share some of that with us would be awesome.
Sure. So for anyone that is examining or looking at the Kangen water product or Enagic in regards to performance health optimization, I think it is unparalleled in its effectiveness. And why I'm able to say that is since the time I was 15 years old, I've been in the high-performance bodybuilding industry. Prior to that, I was just a normal kid in Canada playing hockey and doing all that sort of stuff. I took up weight training in my own gym back that long time ago, led to a background in exercise physiology, University of New Brunswick. And then over the years, I worked in every single facet of the health and wellness industry from being a sponsored athlete, representative for various stores, a store manager, eventually owning and operating my own store, being a personal trainer, and then a publicized author, then running my own supplement company, and continue to do that as well as serve in a variety of positions, including the co-founder of Bioptimizers, as well as I was able to represent our country, the national championships in both 2003 and 2007, and which I took on my career. Now I work as an advisor to the American Anti-Cancer Institute. But all that to say is that I have been on a quest for physical performance and health optimization. I don't know everything, and I've made a considerable amount of mistakes. However, I have been able to qualify and test in a clinical environment the effectiveness of a vast array of things. And I have a podcast nowadays called the Awesome Health Podcast, where I literally interview the world's best biological optimization experts on performance, health, aesthetics, these type of areas, where I'm able to garner information that is extremely effective in enhancing people's lives. So that's the background for people who want to hear it and know it, and how I've been able to come to that conclusion. Now, in relation to Enagic in the Kangen water that is produced by Enagic machines, I was first introduced to the program in 2007. I was extremely skeptical. You have to understand, as a former professional athlete and as a health advocate and a company owner, I literally have products sent to my house ad nauseum with plenty of claims and plenty. And I love that, and I'm grateful for that. Most don't meet the grade, and there are a few things that actually do. And I quickly integrate them into a philosophy that I developed of how people spend their time, energy, and money. I call it the Awesome Health System, which represents the 7 key areas where people can focus their time, energy, and effort. It's available on my website. It's called the Awesome Formula. It's a whole series, because you cannot diet or supplement your way, or you can't supplement your way out of a poor lifestyle. Now, all that to say, why is that important and relative to this conversation? Because I'm a believer that you need to address first principles when it comes to optimizing the health, the vitality, and the performance of any system, certainly the human system. Mm-hmm. And so when I developed this philosophy, and I'm giving you this broad-based piece, and then we're going to narrow down specifically on why I feel this water is so effective in optimizing performance for athletes and optimizing people's health. They're actually principles within the same parameters, oftentimes felt by athletes sooner, or people who are on the lower end of the health scale, just because of the impact and its relative effects based on that person. So when I look at the performance parameters, I look at the one common element within the entire body is the human cell. So you have brain cells, you have muscle cells, you have connective tissue cells, you have organ cells, all these, but the fundamental component of what we call me or you is a conglomerate of cells, and there's a lot of these cells. Now, when you are addressing performance or health, you have to look at the health of the cell. How does that cell function? And so when I developed my philosophy in addressing these issues, I recognize, well, you can go a month without food. So food is not the primary aspect of life. Yep. Okay, it's an important aspect because after a month you run out of food. So there are precursors to that. Mm-hmm. And most people focus on diet for health, but the reality is like I said, you can go a month without food. You can go maybe a week without water. So based on that equation, is water more important than food? Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, we are 70%. And that will vary depending on the density of the body, the tissues, fat components, and bone density, muscularity, on how much hydrate. But let's just say for illustrative purpose, we're around 70% water. Yeah. So now there's one thing that precurses that. And you go, well, how long can you go without breathing? Not very long. We could hold our breath and find out how long, maybe a minute, 2 minutes, maybe some people are, 5 minutes. So in my addressment of health philosophy, I always look at air is number one. Mm-hmm. You got to get a deep breathing practice. And part of the benefits of being an athlete is you increase your oxygen carrying capacity and your ability to remove waste products out of the system by increased lung capacity, which is VO2 max, and increase the removal of toxins through the lymphatic system by movement. Yes. Okay. That's primary, or through the improvement of cellular respiration at the mitochondrial level, or because you increase the amount of mitochondrial density in the body. And that's going to vary from person to person. Some people are built endurance athletes. Some people are very short term. And that's usually the distribution of these. These are the energy systems of the body. Yeah. Second to that is, so the second you're dealing with water. Now, I am going to eliminate all of the confusion around water in the next 2 minutes.
Woo! Because it's confusing.
So there is a couple of great books out there and videos and courses. One is Water, the Great Mystery. And for people to really study water, they have to understand what it is. It is the most unique substance on this planet. Previously, it was believed that water is the only substance on this planet that exists as both a solid, a liquid, and a gas. However, it was recently discovered by a scientist that water actually has a fourth state, which is a crystal state. So water has 4 states, which is a crystalline state as well. Now, the structure of water indicates that it has, at least to our knowledge, 440,000 information panels of storage. It has memory, which is programmable. Now, so if you can think of, most people think of water through its chemical compounds of H2O and whether it has a positive charge or mineral or dissolved solids, and all of that is accurate. It is an incredible solvent, but it is also an incredible transmission of electrical energy, and it also is a storage device. And so the closest thing that we could identify that with would be a DVD. In other words, if you take a DVD, I can put a sports film on it. I can put a historical film on it. I could put a documentary on it. And I could put a horror film and store that information on that device. The human body uses water as a storage device on top of the chemical principles. So you could give the chemical principles of a DVD, yet not understand its contents. With water, we have a challenge in the health industry, and I've examined, I think it's close to 200 different water systems and types of water over the last 15 years. And when you get into this, you start to realize what everybody is screaming about in regards to water is they're saying, my program is better than yours. My DVD story. So one person is, say, using filtration, another person is shooting light onto it, another person is running an electrical charge through it, another person is putting colors in it, another person is putting whatever it happens to be. Yeah. So all of the people who are arguing about water they're saying that their version of the story is better than the others. And I'm here to dispel that. What I'm here to say is that Kangen Water programs water in a very unique way. And the uniqueness of this way has demonstratable, provable, and short-term as well as long-term benefits to the human body. And I'll get to the proof in a moment. What happens when I first took this water as a skeptical athlete and person running a holistic clinic that these guys had brought this magic water from Japan? I'm like, yes, I've heard this story before. And signed all these amazing attributes and testimonials and all that sort of stuff. And I was like, I'm not impressed by all that stuff. I want to know, does this make me go bigger, faster, stronger? And I did a CD on that with a couple of experts, a doctor and another sports advocate. And when I drank the water, I felt it tasted different and it absorbed differently in my body. I noticed those two things immediately. I watched the presentation, which had some truth and some things that were questionable, but it was a reasonable presentation, enough to pique my interest to do my own experiment. And I, at that time, was not as knowledgeable as I am about water now, even though I'd studied a lot of water. And so I was like, this is interesting. So I reckoned that if we're 70% water, I'm 200 pounds, I needed to change 140 pounds of water in my body as fast as possible to see if I could change all of the water inside my system. Just like if you're going to go change the oil in your car, you don't take out one quart and put in another. You take out all of the old oil and you put in all of the new oil, and then the car runs properly. You can't do it partially. Right. So I drank, I think it was about somewhere around 11 liters of water a day, because I said I want to go through this process as fast as possible. 1 liter of water equates to just over 2 pounds. So it's a 20 pounds of water a day. I said I could be able to do this in a week. Well, at the end of the first week, I noticed a remarkable results in the gym. At that time, I had been training in bodybuilding and fitness for over 30 or over 20 years. And I was like, my recovery was better. My endurance was better. and my delayed onset muscle soreness, which is anybody that's been to the gym understands what that is.
Yeah.
I was like, these are all radically better. And I don't know why.
Wow.
No one was talking about it. They were just talking about the health benefits and these stories and everything. I was like, okay, something is happening to me as an athlete.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I need to investigate this further. So I also realized, okay, maybe there is a placebo effect going on here that I've been convinced, and we all are well aware of the placebo effect. I said, maybe that's the effect. I said, well, there's only one way that you can determine if it's a placebo or not, and that is you need to put yourself into a high performance situation that you know the parameters. And so what I did is I reinserted myself into a national bodybuilding championship again after I had been retired for 3.5 years. Now, I want to be clear about something. Number one, I had achieved a national champion status level 3.5 years earlier. So I had achieved a high level results. I'm not saying that this is going to achieve super physiological muscle growth or anything like that. Right. But I had a high level. I had been retired. I continued training, but training to stay in shape is very different than training to be a high performance athlete, let alone a national and world championship qualified athlete. Yeah. I also knew that I did not have the normal allotted amount of time to get in condition for that show. It was not possible. In fact, I only had 3.5 weeks to get ready for that show. So what I did is I compressed 4 months of training into 3.5 weeks. Now, under normal circumstances, there is no way I would have possibly been able to physically endure the damage to my system and the challenges that would occur in order to make that happen. But I said, based on what I'm experiencing, the water, I think I'll be able to recycle the metabolic toxins out of my body and be able to get into shape in order to do that. And fortunately enough, that did occur. And in 3.5 weeks later, I won both of my categories at the World Championships or the National Championships. And 3 months later, competed at the World Championships. I didn't want anything to do with the business. I liked the water. I was giving away for people. I was experiencing it, but I didn't know anything about the money, the business, whatever. I just liked the water. It was cool. After I returned from the World Championships, I didn't win the championships, but the first time I competed at the Worlds, I placed 13th. The second time I placed 5th. So I was actually superior to my earlier form. I thought that was really interesting as well.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So thank you. When I got back, there was a proliferation of misinformation about the success that I had had in my competition. Some people thought I was a senior citizen that come out of retirement. Some people thought that I just grew 30 pounds of muscle in 3.5 weeks. Yeah. So there was a whole bunch of stories. There was misquotes and photos, and I saw some of the literature that went out in the world, and I contacted one of the people and said, hey, look, this is incorrect information. I'm willing to change that. You've used my picture without my permission, so we need to address that. And number 3, I would like the opportunity to set the record straight so that we get accurate, precise information that can benefit the world, because I knew at that time in 2007 that what had transpired in my life as an experienced world qualified athlete and as an exercise physiologist and a nutritionist and someone who has access to the latest and greatest technology that's out there, that this was a breakthrough in performance because of what the water was able to do.
Absolutely.
I subsequently worked with the person that had mispublished my information and republished it on what every athlete needs to know about restructured ionized water. Now, I did not use the trademark registered names of Kangen or Enagic because I would have been subjected to a variety of trademark violations. That being said, I have investigated virtually every ionization company in the marketplace, and nobody is able to produce the quality of Kangen water at the consistency that Enagic water machines produce. I have yet to find that yet.
Mm-hmm.
Now, concordantly, what was very interesting at that time is I was invited to speak at an event in Orange County, California, Newport Beach. And when I got there, there was a little get together, banquet line and whatever. And I happened to be standing next to someone I had never seen before. Actually, I didn't really know anybody. And I struck a conversation with this individual who goes by the name of Dr. Horst Filzer. I had no idea who Horst was. He had no idea who I was, but we got along very well. Even though if you saw both of us, we are very radically different looking people. He is a highly educated medical doctor who was involved in putting in the first stent in the body as a vascular surgeon. He's a very, say, robust individual, very, I think we're both get along as I think we have some German descent, and we have a love for precision and a love for performance. Yeah. And although he's not that much into fitness and I'm not that much into surgery, we got along famously. Yeah,
you complement each other wonderfully. I love it.
So I shared my story with him and I said, this is very interesting, but we do not have any definable proof about this type of water, like what would pass as human trials in North American peer-reviewed journals. I said, I believe, based on my experience, that one day this will be proven that this reduces delayed onset muscle soreness through providing electrical-based antioxidants and will serve as something that improves mitochondrial function or oxygen carriers. I believe that it was mitochondrial function because when I did my VO2 max, which is measuring your oxygen uptake, it's a very standardized process that's used in athletic performance. When I started at 3.5 weeks out, I was at one level. And when I got completed, I was 4 points higher on that scale. Well, there is nothing in athletic performance that would indicate that I could improve my oxygen carrying capacity, my lung capacity, that much over that period of time. There was no anabolic agents used. There were no oxygen or steroid for oxygen carrying capacity. There was no specific training that would radically increase my VO2 max because I was primarily anaerobic training. And I was truly in wonder of how this was possible.
Yeah.
And so from that point, I took it upon myself to start educating people about the benefits of this for athletic performance. And when I started applying in my clinic to people with a variety of other challenges in life, I found that it was also very effective at addressing several different issues. And they are as follows. Those issues are, number one, if you use what's called an electrointerstitial water scan, which will demonstrate the hydration levels, not just in your body, but in each and every organ of the body, in tissue of the body. It's been used with Olympic athletes, and Dr. Carmichael, I believe, was one of the founders of that in Colorado. But you can see the hydration levels within the body. And virtually everybody that came into my clinic at that time was in a state of chronic dehydration. Chronic dehydration, what I would address is a state of where the dehydration level is so deep, it will take weeks to get the person hydrated. And that's one of the reasons why you see when people go into hospitals, medical doctors will oftentimes put people on intravenous and things like that to make sure they ensure ample hydration so they can get drug dosages right, that they can clear metabolic toxins. It's a very, very important component of health. Fully hydration, going back to the philosophy of water, which are mostly bags of water. Yes. And hospitals know that most people are dehydrated. When you see athletes, they're constantly dehydrated. And then the third thing is there's another interesting point. Now, those are all proven. Now, years later, Dr. Horst did develop and put into irrefutable evidence that Kangen water produced by Enagic machines and given to humans does exactly what I experienced 10 years before. He was able to prove that it improves energy metabolism at the mitochondria. It is able to reduce delayed onset muscle soreness as serving as an electrical-based antioxidant. They're very, very profound. This is irrefutable evidence in human history. So I was so happy, and I brought him on my show to interview him, and I was really delighted by it, and it was awesome, and I'm grateful that he applied himself to this project. We are all in deep benefit of that.
Absolutely.
But there's another piece that I think is very relevant for today for parents of children that have children, or people who are performed in athletics, or people who are using other forms of hydration, sports beverages, energy drinks, things like that. What I have noticed is there is a radical increase in the proliferation of concussion-based injuries. And I believe that what is happening is people who are hydrating their bodies are doing so with a variety of substances that don't actually get into the cells. So they're hydrating extracellularly, not intracellularly.
Right.
And a lot of people don't understand this. If you look back to the periodicals that were produced in Japan and around the world, Russia, Germany, and a variety of places, the water that Enagic produced is called reduced water. Well, what does that mean? The surface tension of the water is reduced through electrolysis. The cells of the body maintain an energy or osmotic pressure, which is measured in a term called dynes. Your cells operate around 80 dynes. That means things that are higher than that are high pressure molecules, and things that are lower than 80 are low pressure molecules.
Okay.
When people are drinking sports beverages, sodas, juice, a lot of these sort of things, many of these have an osmotic pressure that exceeds 80. They'll be 90, 100, 110, 120. This was illustrated by world-renowned water researcher and super genius, Dr. Patrick Flanagan, who wrote the foreword, as well as did all of the editing on my chapters in water in the book that Katrine Valinsky and myself wrote years ago called Staying Alive in a Toxic World. And he illustrated this osmotic pressure component to me. With reduced water, water that goes through the filtration process and the electrolysis process that the Kangen water machines do, it reduces the osmotic pressure of that water. Okay, that's why it's called reduced water in periodical reviews. The lower osmotic pressure allows that water to be more easily absorbed by the cell. So the water becomes hydrating intracellularly to the body's tissues, which has a twofold benefit. Number one, it fills up the cells intracellularly, which is good. That allows the cell to operate, function, turns on protein synthesis and other things. But more importantly, it pushes out the buildup in metabolites that may have occurred in that cell because of poor lymphatic drainage and poor cellular metabolism. And I just was interviewing, came out on my podcast, the Awesome Health Podcast recently, Dr. Ted Ochocoso, who is one of the highest IQs in the world. His IQ is somewhere around 210. And he was suggesting, he runs health optimization clinics, and he suggested the number one toxin and problem that people deal with aging in degeneration is the buildup of metabolic waste products inside the cell, which make it eventually harden and dysfunction and go. Wow. So he focuses primarily on this. I know of no better, more efficient, effective way to do several options when it comes to cellular hydration. By drinking Kangen water for most adults, somewhere between 3 to 5 liters a day, depending on their body weight and their level of activity and the climate that they find themselves in. That could be internal or external, how moist that climate might be, will determine which is the right amount for them. But I do know this will improve energy production of the cell. I do know that will hydrate the body better. I do know that it will provide electrical-based antioxidants far greater than you can get from a nutritional supplement or that you can get from the healthiest diet possible. And number 4, it improves cellular hydration, which I believe may be valuable in the prevention of concussion-based injuries, which so many of our kids and sports athletes are suffering from, because there's a disproportionate amount of those today, largely in part because of the increased osmotic pressure. I believe that last part is a theory. Yeah. The other things are proven entities. Mm-hmm. Finally, I would say that from an environmental perspective, which is so important in today's world, when you are making your water in a Kangen water machine, you are reducing the amount of waste products. You do not need to buy plastic water. You are not getting BPA agents and other plastic phytoestrogens inside the water. You're able to put them in clean, reusable containers. You're able to produce disinfectant. You're able to produce water that will remove oil-based toxins from your fruits and vegetables, which I'm an expert. My company manufactures enzymes and probiotics. These chemical agents, which have been added to our food supply because of the unintended consequences of technological iteration around farming and the damage to our soils and everything, they're using these oil-based pesticides. They disrupt the enzymatic and bacterial function of living organisms. So if it will kill the bugs, the question is, how many of that do you need to kill yourself or mutate your data or call that problem? So the oil, because you're able to turn the Kangen water machine up to a very, very low viscosity, or, super high viscosity, I should say. And what that means is that it can emulsify oil, which will also remove many of these oil-based pesticides from your fruits and vegetables and food products if you pre-wash them. And that also has extraordinary health benefits by reducing the toxic load that builds up in people. The other thing is the water tastes great. It's easy. It's convenient. And the beauty of the way the distribution program works is that you can offset the cost of any of these machines with the tax incentives, usually from your government system that you find it in, so that really it costs you more not to have the machine than it does to have it. So all that to say, based on my investigation of several hundred machines, my athletic background, my professional opinion, and my personal experience of almost 15 years, I believe that Kangen water produced by Enagic machines offers the best value from a physiological point, from an environmental point, and from a financial point that any person or family can implement in their life with extraordinary health benefits over and above and prior to any diet or any nutritional supplement program. And I am an expert, an advocate, and a producer of both of those items. And I'm saying that as an independent business owner that in the supplement industry, and as a former athlete, and as an advisor to a great variety of people in their health and wellness. So that's all that to say. That's as clear and concise as I can be.
Amazing. Oh my gosh. You just made my interview really easy. I had all these questions. So I love everything you just said, and it's like mind-blowing. I've just learned a ton of stuff. And I'm so happy I'm recording this because I have so many places I want to go and gather information, and we're going to talk again, I hope. Okay, so if I'm the coach of the Raptors, or I'm the trainer of the Raptors, I mean, for an example, or I own a gym facility, I own an F-45, and I've got all these people that come and spend money with me and time and effort. I guess in my mind, if I'm in one of those positions, my goal as a trainer is I want my team to outplay, mentally and physically the other teams, or I want my people to come in and get those maximum gains and results that they're coming in and putting their efforts into. So, maybe just from that perspective, if you were speaking to one of these people, what would you say to them, from maybe a little bit more performance recovery, endurance, all that stuff? What could they expect? I mean, I know you've kind of given us that information in a bit of a deeper level when it comes to the body, but maybe we can talk on that level for just a minute, what they can expect. Because at the end of the day, it's like, what's in it for me? How is this going to help my team? How is this going to make my business better, my participants happier?
Great question. So first and foremost, you have to realize that all of these individuals under an extraordinary amount of pressure under their position, they're also exposed to a wide variety of people who are trying to leverage their access to famous and professional people for their own benefit. So you need to be very clear about that from the beginning and not come off as one of those people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that is very difficult.
Yeah.
So if you have a relationship, I believe that relationships are cultivated by adding value.
Yes.
The other thing is if you wish to have an successful interaction, it starts from the position of asking questions as opposed to telling them what you have.
Yeah.
So, Mr. or Mrs. Sports coach, athlete, whatever. Dear friend, the question I would say, is hydration important to your performance?
Mm-hmm.
Why is it important to your performance? What products are you currently, or technology are you currently implementing in order to produce that result? You need to ask questions. Okay, why are you incorporating those?
Mm-hmm.
What are the common elements that are happening with the people that you work? Where are the challenges that you see implementing hydration? Because I see athletes on the line, I see concussions, I see cramping, I see all those things. What are you doing?
Yeah.
First, you need to gather information.
Mm-hmm.
Once you gather the information and say, let me ask you a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
If I were able to present something to you,
Mm-hmm.
a technology that would address some or all of these issues, would you be interested in engaging this in a small trial with yourself or some select athletes to see if that was result?
Mm-hmm.
They are going to say, probably they'll say, yeah, sure. Great. Let me make the arrangement to do that. What would be a convenient time where I can give you a specific demonstration of the technology that I have, put it inside your home or your training facility,
Mm-hmm.
allow you to experiment with it, and then follow up with any information. Would that be okay with you?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. What time would that be, or when would that fit within their calendar? Implement it, and that's it. Don't start going about the oxygen. Don't start going about. The problem with most distributors is they are not equipped
Right.
to answer those questions. When you're talking about strength and conditioning athletes,
Yeah.
or high performance trainers or the athletes themselves, you have to realize they are exposed to the best of the best in the world.
Yes.
And if you aren't a PhD in exercise physiology, you don't come from a big college program, you are going to look foolish.
Yeah,
and you are going to look like someone who is trying to take from them, not add from them. And so my suggestion is, first, go down the question list. Second, pinpoint the areas that would address. Third, casually offer a solution in a convenient time for them to do an experiment on themselves or with a select group of athletes, and let it go.
Yeah.
Do not talk about ORP. Do not talk about cellular hydration. Do not talk about that until you have the time, the place, and the commitment that they will experiment with this technology.
Yeah.
If you try to usurp that process, you will get shut down, because what happens, you get put into an associative box of the thousands of people who have pitched them about every magic pill, potion, lotion. And it's very hard to come back from that. Mm-hmm. It's like dating. If I'm interested in somebody and I walk up and I spit in their face, it's going to be very hard to come back from that, even if we were a perfect match. Yeah. that initial impression was just too much to overcome. Yeah. Okay. It's just not going to work.
Yeah.
Right?
It's going to be a lot of convincing. And that's what we want to do.
And that's exactly what people do. They spit on the face of that person's credentials, their experience, and they come off as amateurish and are discarded from that person's world forever, because once you blow that relationship, you will not get it back. These people do not have time, energy, and resources to deal with people. I will also say one other piece in regards to this. I cannot tell you how many people spend all of their time chasing down high-level amateur or professional athletes, expecting them to buy their machine and go around and do demonstrations or add what I would say social proof because of their popularity to the marketing program of that person. That is also a mistake. These people can smell it out. Athletes are athletes for a reason. You do not care about business. You do not care about going to meetings. You do not care about making money in a business. You are supremely focused on the performance of your sport.
Yeah.
As an adjunct, if you watch TB12, that's Tom Brady 12, you will notice in one of the videos, the Facebook video he did a couple years ago, it's a series of, I think, 6 or 7 components. And in one of those videos, Tom Brady, you can see the Kangen water machine in the background as he gets water. Well, why is that important? Tom Brady is one of the most advanced athletes in the world for longevity, durability, and success. Mm-hmm. He spends an exorbitant amount of money taking care of his body. And he has access to literally the best of everything in the world. And I think it's testimonial not enough to see that machine in his home on TB12. And he is also advocating a whole athletic program in conjunction. But that water machine is there and he's drinking it. It is on for everybody to see.
Yes.
I don't know Tom Brady personally. Most people don't. But when people say, well, I don't know if that's true, I said, well, it's good enough for Tom Brady. Check it out in TB12.
Sure. Exactly. Yeah. I think that's important too. Like people, so, and I'm a believer of, you know, sometimes you have to stick within your genre, right? Like if I'm a hairdresser, I'm not going after these athletes. You know what I'm saying? It just doesn't make sense, right? So you got to go where you feel your fit is as well. But the other thing is, even in that sense, so I've loved the fitness world for a long time, you know, it's also still respecting their caliber and maybe providing them with some information as well that they can go back and say, okay, that guy's talking my language. Even though you introduced us, I appreciate that. And now you connected to people of the same wavelength. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So do you have anything that you highly recommend, you know, providing someone of that caliber with regards to information? I mean, you've got great stuff out there. So that's, for me, one definite. But
you could use a video. You can use, I think I did a piece on my awesome health course by Optimizers. Mm-hmm. Have what is the best antioxidant. I also have a preliminary on what's the best hydration device. And I go into a very good demonstration about all that technology that they can watch. It's available freely, so they can use those. I do believe that I'm going to re-release what every athlete needs to know about restructured ionized water. That's another good piece that people can use. There is a couple of audio DVDs with myself and Shan Stratton and I believe Dr. Carpenter from back in the day that are very good. Bigger, faster, stronger. Those are good resources for people to use. Shan Stratton has provided, I think, ample information as well as a professional nutritionist to many professional athletes. So all of those, I think, are very effective and valuable.
Okay, that's amazing. You are awesome. Yeah, you are. You spent time with us today, and I'm grateful. And, you know, your accomplishments are, I believe you do everything from your heart, right? And from anything I've seen of you. And I look forward to learning more about your business and all the things that you're doing by Optimizers. So is there anything that just, you know, from the people on here right now, how we can learn more about that as well?
Sure, thanks. Well, people can find me at byoptimizers.com. I give away my 12-week Double Your Energy course. Inside that course, I have 2 particular videos. It's a 12-week course of 5 to 15-minute videos.
Okay.
And inside of all of those, it explains the entire philosophy that I developed. We don't get to supplements to part 5. So it's not a pitch campaign. It's just everything I've compiled over the last 30 plus years in the health and fitness industry, where I got the information, who I got it from, the links, all of that, so people can do a deeper dive on the research, but it's nice summaries. And there's 2 particular items that I would encourage people to look at. One is what's the best type of water and what's the best type of antioxidant, which I feature Kangen water, I also illustrate a bunch of these other things that I talk about in an easy to understandable functional thing. You can leverage the videos and share it with people or do whatever you want with it. I give it away freely, just like I share with the Enagic distributors. I will say one final piece. I have been a quote unquote part-time Enagic distributor for the last 13 years after I had that experience and went to the World Championships. I don't need to work in Enagic. I like to. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you why I like to. We are, as a human race, faced with incredible challenges physiologically due to the unintended consequences of technological innovation over the last 70, 80 years in our food production and distribution, as well as the increased electromagnetic load based on a digital electronic-based society. We're also, of course, in the middle of a worldwide pandemic, and there's a variety of challenges out there. The reality is being healthy has become an extremely expensive endeavor. It is, for the most part, not covered by the medical industry. We have an industry that's built on sick care. And so investing in your health is a big deal. It's an expensive endeavor. And what I have found about the Enagic business opportunity is that it can provide anybody, regardless of their gender, their background, their age, their education, their experience, or their past, a clear and present opportunity to do something that is good for their health, that is good for their environment, and good for their finances. It is literally a self-development program with a financial compensation program attached. Yeah. The beauty of the program, you never go backwards. It is not like typical distribution models. The company has a history of over 45 years of manufacturing, distributing, and servicing their machines. They are at the premium side in both pricing and quality, as well as the service provided in their long-term maintenance. I have had my machine since 2007. Wow. I follow the guidelines that is issued in order to make it work and to provide it. And it has worked extraordinarily well for all that time. Mm-hmm. So when you look at the dollar value that it's provided for me, for the price alone, it's extraordinary. Mm-hmm. However, over that time, I've been able to help with the connection with all the thousands and thousands and thousands of distributors in my organizations and the hard work that they do day in and day out, the people they talk to, and the incredible self-sacrificing efforts of the collective group to make the world a better place, both in their health, both in the environment, and both in their finances. So I cannot think of any reasonable person who could condemn or look down on or think there is not an extraordinary level of value in both the product, the company, and the people that are attached to it. And it is an honor and a privilege to be considered one of those people. And it has also been extraordinarily financially rewarding for myself. Mm-hmm. And I want to make that clear. I do have made an extraordinary financial benefit despite my own negativity, my part-time commitment, and also my complete misunderstanding of the business model, the product, and the people in it when I first engaged in that. And so if someone's listening to that, I would put all that aside because the technology is sound, the product is extraordinary, and the mission is impeccable.
Wonderful. You're going to make me cry. That was quite the speech. I am so grateful for you right now. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate each and everybody that joined us today, and feel free to share this with anyone. And
yes, this is recorded, so it will be going out to share with lots of people. You will inspire many, and you inspired me, so thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay, it was such a pleasure, Wade. Have an awesome day, and thanks everyone for joining, and be blessed.
Take care.
Bye.